Somewhere right now, someone is thinking about you, not in a small way, in that specific, aching way where something ordinary, a song, a smell, a corner of a city, pulls them straight back to a moment with you. They miss you, and they're not going to do anything about it. No message, no call, not even a like on something you posted. Just silence. While somewhere behind that silence, you exist in their mind more than they'd ever admit. And the question that keeps you up sometimes, the one you can't quite shake, is why? Why miss someone and say nothing? We're taught that feelings lead to action. You're hungry, you eat, you're cold, you find warmth, you miss someone, you reach out. That's the logic. But emotions don't always follow logic. And the space between feeling something deeply and doing something about it can stretch across months, sometimes years, with the person on the other side having no idea any of it is happening. What lives in that space isn't nothing. It's usually fear wearing a very convincing disguise. Sometimes the silence comes from something specific, the way things ended. Something said that can't be unsaid, a decision made by them that they've never fully made peace with. And here's the painful irony of it. The people who carry the most guilt about how something ended are often the ones least likely to reach out. Not because they care less, because they care enough to know they caused pain and they can't figure out how to stand in front of that. Reaching out would mean opening a conversation they don't know how to have. It would mean saying, I think about you to someone they may have hurt, and hearing in the silence after exactly what that cost. Sometimes the hardest part isn't missing someone. It's facing what reaching out would mean. For some people, guilt becomes so heavy that silence starts to feel safer than honesty. They convince themselves they're protecting the other person, when in reality, they're protecting themselves from a conversation they're not ready to have. Now, think about the ones who didn't do anything wrong, the ones who simply let something fade, or who walked away from something that scared them, or who just weren't ready, and now they are, or something close to it. They pick up the phone, they put it down, they write a message and delete it more than once, and then they talk themselves into the reasonable version. It's been too long, it would be strange, they've moved on, I'd only be making things awkward. These thoughts feel like wisdom. They're not. They're what cognitive avoidance looks like in real life. The mind generating perfectly sensible reasons to stay away from something that is actually just frightening. The reasons aren't wrong. They're just conveniently timed to arrive exactly when the fear needs them most. Some people won't reach out for a simpler reason. Reaching out first feels like losing. It doesn't matter how irrational that sounds, and most people who feel this way know it's irrational, but there's something in the structure of how the relationship ended or how they've framed it since that makes being the one to break the silence feel like an admission of something. Weakness, need, the fact that they were wrong. So they hold the line, they wait for the other person to move first, and sometimes the other person is waiting for exactly the same thing. And both of them stand on opposite sides of a silence neither one built on purpose. For some people, breaking the silence feels like admitting defeat, not because they don't care, but because they've tied their pride to staying quiet for so long that speaking first feels impossible. The relationship still matters. They're just afraid of what reaching out might say about them. And then there are the ones who are simply waiting. They're not frozen with guilt. They're not paralyzed by pride. They just need something, some small signal that reaching out wouldn't land badly, that the door isn't completely closed, that they wouldn't be unwelcome. They watch, not obsessively, but carefully. A story you post, something a mutual friend mentions, a detail that suggests you might not have entirely erased them either. They're looking for permission they'd never ask for directly. And sometimes that permission never comes. Not because you haven't given it, but because they haven't recognized it. Or because they recognized it and still couldn't make themselves move. There's no tidy resolution here. Some of them will reach out eventually. When the fear gets smaller than the missing, or when something shifts inside them that makes the silence feel worse than the risk of saying something, others won't. Not because you didn't matter, but because they haven't found a way to carry vulnerability yet. And you can't carry it for them. What's worth taking from this is simple. Even if it isn't easy, their silence is about something happening inside them. It was never really a verdict on you. You deserve to hear from them. That remains true whether you ever do or not. The missing doesn't disappear just because someone keeps quiet about it. It goes somewhere private, into the songs they can't skip fast enough, the places they take slightly longer routes to avoid, the 2 a.m. thoughts that show up without being invited. They carry it, longer than you probably know. And maybe the most honest thing that can be said about all of it is this: silence is almost never as simple as it looks. Behind most of it, there's a person trying to figure out how to do something that scares them. They just haven't figured it out yet. Have you ever missed someone but never found the courage to reach out, or waited for a message that never came? Share your story in the comments. Someone reading it might realize they're not alone. If this helped you understand yourself or someone you love, subscribe for more psychology-based videos.